mission, solving mysteries in the night. Chasing shadows, finding answers, shining bright light. No one's left behind in the darkness, all alone. With a heart like a siren, she brings the lost ones home. Silent cries in the dark no longer have to be, for justice wheels keep turning, granny on the beat. Broken voices find their power, call out hope again. Then these crime busters run, no victims left in pain. Bravery in her veins, truth she won't disguise. With a fire in her eyes, she's got nothing to deny. Granny fights for justice, never backs down from the call. For the voiceless and the missing, she'll stand tall. In a world full of shadows, she fights the unseen, a guardian of the truth in this wicked dream. And every story told brings her back to life. Granny's on the case, cutting through the lies. She guards the broken hearted from a world that hides. With unwavering spirit, she wears no disguise. Searching for the lost pieces of a shattered life. Granny brings the dawn after a longest night. Whoa. Hello, everybody. Everybody's doing good today. Hello, Ginger and K9. Good to see you both. Brenda Joe, hello. Hope you're feeling a little better. Oh, goodness. So, I do have something we're going to talk about with Sebastian Rogers tonight. Doesn't seem like too many other people are really discussing it, which kind of surprises me, but everybody is so focused on the stupid blob photo. I have no other way to explain it. And I don't know, maybe some of you think that it's real. I don't know. I'm not willing to go there. But you got to wonder, what Seth's thoughts are. And I feel bad for him. And of course, there's those who are just having a field day because that night and Nick and Hung and those guys are being quiet. But I always take their silence as that they're working on something in the background. That's my thoughts. Hope that's the truth. We never know. But yeah, Jennifer Coffindaffer was on at the same time we were yesterday. And at first when I started listening to her, I thought, oh, this is kind of old news. But really, it's not, right? Because she, if any of you watched her, she was talking about the wrong date on the TBI flyer, right?
And it makes you wonder how many mistakes have been made in this case. And I'm not talking by just law enforcement, right? How many mistakes have been made all across the board? Things focused on that maybe shouldn't have been. We focused on Green Hoodie. Law enforcement said no. Green Hoodie doesn't have anything to do with anything. We only have their word to go by. But, how many mistakes are there out there? We talked about puzzle pieces yesterday, right? And we don't have all the pieces to the puzzle. There's nothing worse. My dad used to do puzzles all the time. My dad and my mom, actually. And there's nothing worse than doing a puzzle and getting down to your last couple pieces and you've got pieces missing. Right? And I feel like there are a bunch of pieces missing in the Sebastian Rogers case, right? A lot of things that we don't know about. And so then I started thinking today, well, if Jennifer feels like a mistake was made by law enforcement, and don't get me wrong, guys, I'm not going after law enforcement. I know that they're working with Seth. Tony says they're doing an excellent job, that they have all kinds of evidence. All we can do is take them at their word, right? So I'm not trying to go after law enforcement, but law enforcement can make mistakes as well, right? They can. But why didn't they fix it? Because I'm going to tell you something. I pulled this off the TBI website today. What's the date there? This was pulled off the TBI website today. If that date is wrong, why haven't they changed it? Okay. The other thing is that the pants were not black sweatpants. They were black, like what do you want to call them? Like running pants, that kind of thing. It wasn't a black sweatshirt. It was a black t-shirt, long sleeved. Why haven't they fixed this stuff? It doesn't take much to go in and fix it, guys. They have graphics people who make this stuff up in the first place. It doesn't take that much to go in and fix it. But they haven't done so. Why? Right? Makes you wonder, why aren't they fixing it? Hello, Gigi. Good to see you. Yeah, we can only hope, right? We can only hope that they have those missing pieces. But something tells me they don't yet, or we would have someone in jail, right? Either someone in jail or Sebastian would be home if they had those missing pieces. They don't have everything yet, or this case would be proceeding to court. Right? So we're going to start Jen's video from yesterday, and we're going to discuss it. I don't know if we'll finish today or not, but we will start it today because she makes 3 very good points, guys. And I want us to talk about those points because I think they're important. I think they're really important to Sebastian Rogers' case. So I'm going to go ahead and present my screen.
True crimers, welcome to Break the Case. I'm your host, I'm Jen Coffindaffer. We are going to get right after it here. There's been some new information that has come out for those of you who watch the case closely of
Not
Sebastian
enough evidence
Rogers.
yet, Canine.
You might already know at least what we're going to delve into, but we're not only going to dive into it, we're going to talk about what that means for the case, what that means for what could have happened. And I think it's very significant. And actually, I think it's pretty concerning. But we're going to get right into it. First of all, for those of you who are new to the channel, Sebastian Rogers was a 15-year-old young man. He is now 16 years old. He disappeared on February 25th from Hendersonville, Tennessee. He was seen at a restaurant with his mother, and was also, the audio of his voice was caught on a dash cam video. So it was believed that he arrived at his mother's house in Hendersonville after basically an extremely full and exciting day for any young man.
And so I don't know that we have heard that dash cam video, but they're saying that they do have it. So they heard Sebastian's voice on the dash cam video in Katie's car on the way home from the Texas Roadhouse. So not only have we last seen him at the Texas Roadhouse, right? That's what we have to go by, guys. I know that people are still saying that the flashlight, or when Sebastian took out the garbage, I don't think that is legit, because it's too grainy and you can't tell who it is, right? So I don't look at that as legitimate evidence. I just don't. Seth said that the person that took out the garbage had a hoodie on. Sebastian did not have a hoodie on when he was at Texas Roadhouse, or even when he left. Katie did, right? So until or unless we have some other kind of information that proves that Sebastian took that garbage out, a grainy photo is not going to do it for me. Just like these other grainy photos, I'm sorry. To me, they're not evidence of anything. They're grainy. You can't tell who anybody is. People can tell you who they are. That doesn't mean that's what it is. I could show you a grainy photo of some other kid taking out the trash to his house at night and say, "This is Sebastian, guys." And some people would believe me. I would sincerely hope that no one in my crime busting community would believe me, because, first of all, I would never do that. But I'm just saying, right? Right? All right.
A day of homemade pancakes by mom, which was apparently unusual.
Hello,
A
Juicy.
day
Good to
of
see you.
arcades, a day of restaurants and steaks and good food and popcorn, which Sebastian liked. Sebastian was on the autistic spectrum, although extremely high functioning. He has not been seen since. Key there. So I first want to get into the new information that, as I said, for those who followed this case closely, you might be aware of this. I'm going to read this. This is specifically an email communication. And the importance of this email communication is who this communication is from. Is this communication factual and true? Yes, I believe it is factual and true. What was written is this. As far as the flyer, that's a TBI-PIO question. Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, their public information officer. That's what that acronym stands for. But I'll say the last seen date and the date when it was reported date may have gotten mixed up in the beginning and just has never been changed. From Detective Brandon Carter, the lead detective, Sumner County Sheriff's Office, CID, Criminal Investigative Division.
And so I want to point out something there. You just heard her. Mr. Carter from the Criminal Investigation Division, Sumner County. I've had people argue with me in comments that he's TBI, and he's not. He's Sumner County, guys. So she even said it here, right? The other thing that I did want to say is if a jury cannot see clear proof of Sebastian in any image, they will reject it. I agree, right? They have to know beyond a reasonable doubt that that person is who people are saying it is, right? I will say this, though. Law enforcement has original videos, guys. And those original videos can be enhanced. And they have the people to do it. Okay? Sorry, I hope you guys could hear me all right. I forgot to pull back down my mic. But they have the people to do it. They have the original videos, and those can be enhanced to try to see what they can see, right? Sometimes you can't make anything out of it, right? We've heard that before. When they were trying to look for license plates, you couldn't make it out, whatever. But sometimes they can, and they have the people. If it can be done, it will be done by them. But they're not going to release it, guys. They just are not. It's not going to happen. And K9, I also heard that the neighbor saw Sebastian in the car when they were getting ready to pull into the driveway coming home from TRH. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I raised my eyebrows at a lot of things I think Ellie could have handled better, but who knows? Yeah. Well, I mean, we've all said that, right? We've all said, they didn't treat it like a crime scene from the beginning. They treated it like a kidnapping, and that was so wrong, right? It was really wrong. And they're going to have no one else but themselves to blame for that in the end, right? All we can hope for is that things have come out since then that have given them a direction to go, and to build their case toward. That's all we can hope for. All right, let's continue on.
This is a huge problem, in my opinion. It's a huge problem because that information, as we've discussed on multiple lives and has been discussed on multiple lives of other creators, that completely conflicts with what is on the FBI's flyer, what is on TBI's flyer, what is on the Sumner County flyer, what is on all these law enforcement communications that have been sent out. When did it get altered? I think is very important. So we're going to discuss that. Initially, we talked about how the very first or the first communication in terms of an alert, like an Amber Alert versus an endangered alert. We discussed those differences, which are very profound in the law enforcement community. The Endangered Child Alert, and I'm going to read it. We need your help to find Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, who is missing from the beach area in Hendersonville. The 15-year-old is 5'5", 120 with dirty blonde hair, last seen wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, unknown shoes. Not barefoot, they say, unknown shoes. Sebastian was last seen on 2/25 and may be in the area of Beach and Shackle Island near Long Hollow Pike. Call Sumner County Sheriff's Office at 615-451-3838 with information on his whereabouts. So that was the first information sort of publicly released from law enforcement in the form of a flyer. His picture is given. And it was endangered. An endangered or missing person typically happens when a person is, of course, a minor. Something like that might come out also when a person obviously has autism or is on the spectrum, because that puts them in danger. But that does not give any indication when you see an endangered person. That does not give indication of abduction or foul play. We know that then the next day, that information was upgraded to an Amber Alert. And Amber Alerts, by definition, indicate abduction or being taken. So this was a significant change and adjustment in alert, as we've discussed before. Also, what changed was the fact that the 26th was now written, which I think would lead anyone reasonably to believe that something was seen or discovered by law enforcement that made them adjust the date. Moreover, when asked, law enforcement was asked, why? They said their response was, there was new information that had been discovered through investigation. I'm paraphrasing. We've gone over, I've written, or I've verbatim said what the words were, but that was essentially the paraphrased version of what law enforcement said, why the alert was changed from an endangered person to an Amber Alert. Now, this information that I just read you, to me, is very critical. What it's really saying is that there's been a mistake, a oops. And you'll have to really talk to TBI about that, because it's sort of
Hello,
their
puppy
mistake.
love. Good to see you.
That's what's being said here. That's in a nutshell what is being said. When you have a case like this, when you have any missing persons case, you really should know their last known sighting. And you clearly should make that sighting evident and obvious to the public so they can lend their assistance. There's a big difference between somebody going missing on the 25th and there being a sighting on the 26th, if indeed there even was one.
Amen, amen, amen. Big, huge difference. And it should be talked about, and it should be discussed by law enforcement. Why did the date change? This tells me the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. Sumner County didn't know what TBI was doing. TBI was stating something. What about the FBI? What do they think? I mean, really, guys? And when TBI was asked to confirm, they confirmed the last sighting was the 26th. They didn't go into any details, though. I saw that email somewhere. You are not the only one, K9. She says, I'm really getting impatient with this case. It's just so much with so little. Yeah. And that's the thing. We have to remain focused, right? Guys, I'm going to tell you blob pictures, grainy pictures of Sebastian taking out the garbage that they're not even focused, right? That's not evidence. It's not evidence. Ginger said it. It's not evidence that the jury is going to look at and believe. They're not. Why? Because you or I or the next person could be the jury. Do we believe that? In all reality, can we say beyond a reasonable doubt that that blob is Sebastian? I can't, and I won't. Yeah. Was he seen walking? Was he seen in a car? Was he seen being carried into a vehicle? Do I think it's possible? Because the blob picture they're saying is Chris with Katie walking behind and Chris holding Sebastian. Do I think that's a possibility? Of course, I think it's a possibility, but I'm not going to say that that is what that is, what they're saying that picture is. I'm not going to say that because I can't see it. And I don't think newly released photo is clear. What newly released photo? If, like I said, law enforcement has original videos and that video was allegedly, the picture was allegedly taken from the flashlight video. Well, law enforcement has that video, the original hard drive from that camera. So if something's to be seen there, they'll get it. But they've had it all this time and there hasn't been an arrest yet. So guys, what does that tell you? If what everyone is saying is in that photo is truly what is in that photo, then why hasn't there been an arrest yet? Because that would be evidence. Would it not? A creator has said that the flashlight video can be thrown out because the time was not working properly. Yep. A good defense attorney is going to be all over that, guys. I've seen what they have out there, K9, and I'm not convinced. I'm just not. And they can be manipulated. I heard that they were, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. I heard they were, but I heard they were helping. But, Have you heard that recently, Canine? No, guys, remember that when we as creators are taking images from the internet, we're taking copies of copies. Okay? I just want to make this clear. Pixels and everything else can be manipulated. The minute you try to start enhancing something, you have to give reason for it. And guys, it's a known fact that when someone puts a picture in front of our face and says, "This is what you're seeing," that's what we see. It's what our brain tells us to see. Right? It's a known fact. And things can be manipulated. That's why have you ever seen in a trial when a video expert is on the stand and they're trying to explain how they enhance things to make it look, they have to give really good explanations of what they did because the defense will come after them for manipulating it. I agree. That's true. I didn't think of that. So, but even they have to be careful of how they're manipulating things because they have to answer for it in a court of law, guys. All I'm telling you is you believe what you want to believe, but remember that it's not the be all end all. It's just not. Things can be manipulated to show what people want us to see. I'm not saying any creators have done this or that they've even done it purposely, right? But when you've got copies of copies, you can start to see things that really aren't there because the light is shifted once you start enhancing things. All right, let's continue on.
Which I've gone over this information before previously, where we lined out all the information. I have copious notes. We went through these notes in a previous live where I went through date after date after date and the law enforcement communication that was given to the public on each of those dates. And in each of those discussions, there were a couple points. One point was, and again, this to me is just how law enforcement, when we talk, we sort of split the baby. We say, no obvious signs of foul play or no signs of no signs of foul play. We don't know if there's any foul play, but nobody's off the table. Nothing's off the table. So that's law enforcement speech for they are not saying. But to look at the actions of the upgrade to an Amber Alert, they are saying.
Did you hear that, guys? There's no signs of foul play. She said that's law enforcement's way of saying they're not saying. But an Amber Alert, they are telling you there's foul play. There's criminal intent. Right? That's a good point. The ruckus video that turned out to be trees. Right. And I honestly wish that law enforcement would come out and say something honestly about about that picture, like they did with Green Hoodie. Because I think people are really going to be surprised. Why are people so willing to go to the extreme that Sebastian is gone? I know it's been 11 months. We're going on 12 months. I know that's one of the reasons why. But I'm just not willing to go there yet. And I'm not going to outright say that that picture is totally bogus because I don't know that. But I am saying I'm not going to put that picture up on my channel and push it and say that this is Sebastian, this is Chris, this is Katie. I'm not going to do it because I don't know that it is. Not going to do it. I've had pictures for a while, guys, that I didn't put up here, that somebody sent me, and I won't. I turn them in, right? But I won't. I won't put them up there because if I don't know who's in that picture, I'm not going to pretend that I do know, right? Hello, Cheryl. Good to see you. Let's continue on.
So, was this just a clerical error? And I have to say, there were several people, both in the live chat here on YouTube, as well as on X, on my Twitter page, that said, Jen, what if it's just a clerical error? What if they're confusing the 25th to the 26th because the 25th was last seen, but he was really reported the morning of the 26th by Katie and by Chris Proudfoot, the stepfather? What if that's the just kind of miscommunication, really, the date of report versus the date he went missing? And I remember responding to that saying, this is too critical of a detail to just get wrong.
Exactly.
Or to have a clerical error about, or to not specify. When you say last seen, which is what is said in those flyers on the 26th, that to me is a very specific detail that's extremely important. I mean, who wouldn't think that that's critical? What's funny is, I remember this happening actually in the Idaho 4 case. I'm not going to digress too much, but I
remember, guys, she is a former FBI agent who is saying the correct date is critical to the case, right? We've said that before. We've said, where did they come up with the 26th? When was last seen, right? When was it? We've talked about this at length, guys, because we knew that if they've got something they haven't shown us, and Jen said this earlier, having the last scene out there for the public is critically important for our help in the case, right? Critically important.
remember when one of the Kaylee Gonzalez's sister, I believe, had gone through all the text messaging, and law enforcement had particularly said that text messages ended at a particular time. And Kaylee Gonzalez's sister knew that that was incorrect. She said, no, it ended at this time. And I remember specifically on News Nation being asked, is that important? And my answer was, yes, it's important. Minutes are important. Hours are important. And certainly dates are important. Distinguishing between the 25th and the 26th. And we're going to talk about really why it's really important in this case. It's important in every case, but it's important with all we know now about this case. So I'm quite frankly, my jaw, I had to lift it off the ground when I read this email. And then trust me, I checked my traps. That's what I've been doing. And I'm so sorry to run late. I know I'm always very, very punctual. I know I was a few minutes late because I was reaching out to a lot of different people and throughout the day and checking my traps, we call it in the FBI, checking our sources, checking our information, double checking my notes, double checking interviews that were given.
See, she has a lot of people that she can check with, guys, about this case, who know about this case, right? So she has a lot of people that she can check with, along with interviews and her notes and everything else that she's got on this case, right? So she has a little bit more of an in than the rest of us do, because she does have contacts that she can check with.
Double listening to video responses in the media and so forth. And this is so wrong. If TBI truly just sort of changed the date without actually seeing Sebastian Rogers and confirming it with Sebastian Rogers, and really our last known true sighting of Sebastian Rogers at the Texas Roadhouse, which we've all seen that video. Anyone following this case knows we have proof of life definitely at the Texas Roadhouse. We've seen it with our own eyes. We've gleaned from it lots of peculiar behavior. This is my opinion based on my experience, my law enforcement lens. It's peculiar. It's not peculiar for a teenager and a mother to go to eat and have that teenager locked on their cell phone the entire meal. That's not unusual. You know, that's when you say, hey, get off the cell phone, communicate. We're at a nice dinner. Stop it, put it down, right? That it's pretty normal. I see it all the time. Walk into any restaurant and you'll see the teenagers on their devices. You seldom see a parent one-on-one with their child hooked to their device. We saw that. We also saw 2 parent photos being taken. Not unusual if the person's doing something unique, not unusual if it's a celebration, not unusual if you have all this interaction, you're like, hey, give me a smile, I suppose. Not unusual, right? This just seemed out of place to me. This is just my opinion. Just my opinion from observing the interaction. I've already talked about the eating. I've had probably, I don't know, a dozen or so people say, Jen, that's how teenagers eat. That's how teenagers eat. Listen, I have boys and I have teenage boys and another boy who's a little bit older than a teen now. I understand having a house full of their friends. I understand how kids can eat. That's taking it out of context from Sebastian Rogers and medicated versus not medicated. How did he eat? What were his mannerisms? So I was talking about in collaboration with what we know about Sebastian Rogers' habits of eating and how medication can change that, and how we saw him eating at the Texas Roadhouse. I also talked about the temperature issues at the Texas Roadhouse, meaning, was it freezing outside? No, freezing meaning in the 30s. It wasn't in the 30s. It was in 50s, 60s. in Hendersonville at that time, approximately, but still chilly. No matter where you're from, that's a little chilly. Maybe not for everybody, but look at the people that were on that video in coats, bundled up a bit. He had on a short sleeve shirt. He held his hands in his pockets. And again, part of that are his mannerisms to a degree. But remember, part of the time he also had his hands in his ears. Was that music? Was that one of the Texas roadhouses that perhaps has some exterior music? But no matter what, when I see that, it's a comfort. He's trying to get himself comfortable, whether that's blocking out sound, whether that's holding his ears for comfort. That then later we see him and he has his hands in his pockets clutched closely. Is that, again, it's comfort, but is that because he's cold? Is it a combination between cold and just comforting himself with his hands closely into the body? That tape gave us a lot. It gave us his gait, which really had not been discussed before, which is very important. If you're looking for somebody who's missing, you want to understand mannerisms, that they would even put their hands in their ears, that they put their hands in their pocket, that they walk on their tiptoes, that they're a little pigeon-toed. These are
Okay, so that's what Katie said, right? Katie said she saw him at 9 p.m. Do you guys trust what Katie says? And I know that, and Jen does get into that here, that statements are considered evidence, which can also be used against them in a court of law if it turns out to be a lie, right? But when I look at evidence, I look at what we can see. We weren't there with Katie. So what did we see? Well, TRH, right? Right? So to me, that's last seen was TRH. Now, if the neighbor, I've heard that the neighbor said that they saw Sebastian in the car as they were driving in the into the garage. And when they were at TRH, you could see Sebastian through the window. So I tend to believe that. However, I guess until or unless it goes to a court of law, we're not going to hear the neighbor say that. I mean, I'd like to know where it is. If she did say it, I'd love to know that. Not that I don't believe a neighbor didn't see that. They very well could have, right? But I'd like to see receipts for it, I guess is what I'm saying, right? So as far as what we see as evidence is TRH, right? That's what we see as evidence. Right. If the date is not fixed, then a defense attorney or even the grand jury is going to toss this case out. And here's the thing, guys. How do we know it already hasn't been? Has the defense attorney already said, I can't go to court with this? You guys are going to have to come up with something better. Have they brought it to a grand jury? Because grand jury proceedings are confidential, guys. They don't tell you about them. And the grand jury said there's not enough to go to trial. Right? We don't know, guys. If he was not on his medication that night, then it could explain the covering of his ears, the squirming in his seat. Yeah. Could explain a lot of things. I know the ADHD medication that my daughter was on made her not want to eat. She always said her stomach hurt, her tummy hurt, which I didn't keep her on it very long because she just became this sullen little girl instead of this bubbly, vivacious, fun, precocious child, right? I wanted my bubbly, fun, precocious child back. I didn't want this sullen little girl who complained about her stomach hurting all the time, right? So when she did get off her medication, she ate normally. You know, a teenage boy suddenly off his medication is probably going to eat pretty good. Yes, he was eating very well. Yep, I agree. I totally agree 100%. So, yeah, I mean, if we're looking at last seen, because I understand they can take mom's statements to a court of law, right? And she said she last saw him at 9:00 when she sent him to bed. And it could very well be, right? Could very well be true. We have nothing to prove it is or it isn't, right? Nothing. But as far as what we know, the last scene was Texas Roadhouse.
Are critical clues, and we were able to glean a lot of that. But not to digress beyond those observations, I just want to say we have proof of life. He was alive on the 25th that evening. We know, and it's been confirmed, there was an audio dash cam that Katie Proudfoot had. So we believe there's dash cam audio proof of his arrival back at Hendersonville at his home, and also of him taking the trash out. And we believe that's been reinforced, even though you cannot make out the body or the person. I don't think it's possible from the video footage, from how it has been explained, that you can 100% say it's Sebastian, but it's believed to be Sebastian.
It's believed to be Sebastian. I'm sorry, I don't take that as proof. If the dash cam is real and you can hear it, that's proof. But a grainy photo, I'm sorry. And I'm surprised. I guess I'm surprised that Jennifer is pushing that, right? Because it's believed to be him. But the grainy photo showed somebody with a hoodie on. And Jennifer just talked about how Sebastian might have been cold. He was in a t-shirt. Who was in a hoodie at Texas Roadhouse? Mom was. Just saying.
My only point being, by the evidence we have, he made it home. So where does this leave us now? That now more than ever, I believe the proof of life is on the 25th, not on the 26th. I'd said that for a very long time, But in judging from all of the posters and information from law enforcement, when you put out there the 26th, we have to believe either you're idiots and did not appropriately say in your poster that that was when he was reported missing, not that that's the last time he's been seen. You're misleading the public, or that he's truly was seen the 26th, right? There's only three choices. You made a clerical error on a missing case involving an autistic child that you chose to never rectify. You actually saw the child on the 26th via video, or you have a witness that you've interviewed that actually puts him alive and well on the 26th, proof of life on the 26th. Or you have a situation where truly the only proof of life is the 25th, not the 26th, and you've purposefully misled for people to believe it's the 26th for investigative reasons or other reasons, maybe to keep the person or persons that you're interested in, not calling into question the 26th. So from a law enforcement vantage point, I've always said law enforcement has to have something showing him alive the 26th. There's just no other excuse, explanation for saying anything other than that.
I agree with her 100%. They have to have. Okay. So, does anyone know anything about his nighttime medicine? Ew. I just looked it up, guys. That's scary. Let's look at it. You see that all right? And I'm in the way. So Risperidone or risperidone is an atypical antipsychotic medication. It is used to treat schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, irritability associated with autistic disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, anxiety, sleep difficulties, and depression. They have to be at least 13 years old. Let's go to WebMD real quickly here. Take this medication by mouth with or without food as directed by your doctor. I'm thinking of my daughter is why I said that, I think. The dosage is based on your age, medical condition, response to treatment, and other medications you may be taking. Side effects: drowsiness, dizziness, lightheadedness, drooling, nausea, weight gain, or tiredness may occur. Dizziness and lightheadedness can increase the risk of falling. Wow. Difficulty swallowing, muscle spasms, shaking, mental or mood changes, such as anxiety, restlessness, interrupted breathing during sleep. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's kind of scary, huh, guys? So you're aware of that medication. Yeah. They put my daughter on Ritalin, and I ended up taking her off it. Like I said, I wanted her to be who she was, not someone else created by a drug, right? Not that I'm saying all drugs are bad, right? But I am saying that it did change my daughter for the worse. And sometimes side effects are not good. Here's my thought, guys. If it caused lightheadedness or dizziness, and he had that, I can never remember the name of it, basically the water on the brain thing, um, deletion syndrome, whatever. Was that thud a fall out of bed thing? And then she didn't check on him, or maybe she did at midnight. I mean, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm just saying that is always a possibility, right? And KP apparently turned in the dash cam video or audio a week after Sebastian was missing. Why didn't they take that stuff the day he went missing? Your son was on it, and it was awful. It doesn't sound very good, I gotta say that. Yes, sometimes the side effects are worse than the symptoms. I agree. And when you're giving children these serious medications, guys, I mean, come on. A medication for schizophrenia should not also be a medication for autism. Those are two entirely different things, right? Hi, Melissa. Yeah, I would be too. I would be too. I mean, heck, I was scared of Ritalin because it changed my daughter so much. It changed her entire personality. I was like, no. Doctor wasn't happy with me. He said, you came for my help. I said, I did, but I don't want you to change my daughter. I don't want you to change her personality and who she is. Right. Right. You learn to, I told him, I said, don't get me wrong. I am going to learn everything I need to know on how to deal with her ADHD and her learning issues. I will do everything in my power. But my daughter's personality is not going to be changed. Right? But yeah, I mean, that was me. That's Ginger, obviously. And, sometimes people have to stand up. But I think that Katie wanted, how do I want to say this? I think she had trouble coping. I think she was embarrassed that Sebastian was autistic, and I think she had trouble coping with it, and she wanted a drug to make him normal. And unfortunately, there's no such thing as normal, right? And when you look at that goofy little smile of his, how could you not want to see that? When you see that video of him saying green tea, how could you not want that child to be the same as what he was being in that video? Goofy, like she said. You're goofy, she said, which is fine. He couldn't get up and walk. It also caused our son to be afraid at night, and it was so sad. I found out he had a bat under his bed and asked him about it, and he'd been having bad night. Oh gosh. Yeah, absolutely, Poppy. Right? Oh man. You know, well, good for you. I mean, you, Ginger, me, we stood up for our children, right? And for their well-being. My daughter is bipolar and didn't start taking meds until she was in her late 20s. We had tough growing up, but she was an amazing personality. I wouldn't never have changed it, even if I knew. Right? Yeah. 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 And I'm not going to say everything is perfect with my daughter. I love her to pieces, but she doesn't have a filter. And as much as I tried to get her to learn that you can't just say what comes into your head out loud, she never learned. Right. Thought he was cute, not goofy. I might have said the same thing. You're goofy. But I would have meant it that way. Oh, you're just so goofy. You're so silly. And I would have been laughing right along with them. Right? Do it again. Let me see it. You know? That's what I would have been doing. Our son's diagnosis was Asperger's. He's a paramedic now and is doing well with no meds. See? Yeah. Sometimes I think medication can harm more than help. It's not the case in every case, though. I know, but yeah. Hello, Jackie-O. Good to see you. All right, let's continue on.
You just can't. But now I see from the lead detective these words, and I'm dumbfounded. The last seen in quotes date, and when it was reported date may have gotten mixed up and just not changed. I don't know. That's the lead detective, so I have to go with him. He's blaming it on TBI. It is what it is. So now, at least for purposes of future discussions, it's the 25th that we have true proof of life. We have no other information within the public realm. And again, law enforcement has everything. No public information in the public realm that Sebastian was ever seen. In fact, we have information to the contrary, because we've been told over and over by law enforcement he was never seen. He's not been seen.
Okay, so here's my question, guys. If any of you know what I'm talking about, where there was someone put a screenshot of their email to TBI asking when was the last seen date for Sebastian Rogers, and they answered saying the 26th was the last seen date for Sebastian Rogers. Okay. If you know where that is or you find it, please email me at granny'scrimebusters@gmail.com. Okay. I'll throw that up on the screen for you. Because that needs to be addressed. Right? That needs to be addressed. So if they're saying that and they're confirming it to the public, and then you've got the lead detective from Sumner County saying it was the 25th, that may have been a mistake. Excuse me. Then those two need to beat it out and get it figured out and give a statement together or something. Because that's ridiculous. Right? Let me put my email address up there. So if any of you are sleuths out there and you find that, please, please, please send it to me. I'll be looking too, but sometimes, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 heads are better than one. Right? And I can tell that Jennifer is frustrated, and so am I, right? I am totally frustrated. I know. Mom is missing a great blessing. I know, I love that. I could watch that video over and over again. I really could. He's so cute. But I think it's just because, with any other child, we'd get sick of it, right? But it's because we know that he's missing, that we want to see something of him, right? That we love watching that. You think CJ had it on one of his videos. Gotcha. I think it might have been in a Facebook post from a group, maybe. I'll have to check that. Yeah. Let's continue on.
Not seen since he went missing. Not on camera, not anywhere. All right. So at least I think we know what happened, seemingly. Seemingly clerical error made by TBI, never changed by any of the agencies. And I tell you, if that really ferrets out, that is a crying shame. All right. So I want to go through the three possibilities, the only three possibilities in terms of Sebastian Rogers. Only three. Number one, he walked away. What proof do we have that he walked away? Well, when we say proof, remember what proof is. What proof is are witness statements, video, observations or voices heard or on video, possible locks that could prove to be proof. A proof regarding sometimes is in the form of digital recording, in other words, from a cell phone or from a computer or something like that. Footprints, dogs tracking, all of this can be proof. I'm just saying all of this, generally speaking, is proof. So now
Okay, so before she gets into it, I'm going to ask you guys, what proof is there that he walked away? What proof? You heard what she said proof is. So if we're to believe what she said is proof, she said witness statements. What did Mom say? He walked out that door. Mom and stepdad both said that, right? I agree, K9. None. Ginger. I agree. There isn't any. Nada. Yep. Exactly. But she's going to say that their statements can be taken as proof. Well, I'm sorry. I don't think it would hold up in a court of law. I really don't. I don't believe that a jury will believe these parents. Right? I don't believe it. So I don't see any proof. There's no scent from the dogs. There's no footprints. The doors were all locked. And yes, the front door locks behind it. But that still doesn't prove anything, does it? There's no proof that he walked out the door. None. None. But let's hear what she has to say. And I have to honestly tell you, I disagree with her on this.
I talk about the proof, you know, we can put it in one of those categories. So we have a statement given by Katie Proudfoot. He
See?
just walked away. I last heard from him at about 10 o'clock at night when I, you know, first not mentioned, then it was a noise, and then it was a thud, a loud thud. Okay, so that's the last we know
A thud
from
gives me
Katie
the
Proudfoot.
willies.
So she says that he was alive at that time, according to Katie Proudfoot. But again, that's a witness, and that is considered evidence. Whether
Sorry for stopping it again, guys. But remember what we've been hearing about from Mike. I wish I knew how to say his last name. I'm just going to say Damon. Okay. I don't know. But he said that they'll tell us what happened. And Katie started out by not saying anything about the noise. And then she said she heard him doing something in his room. And then she heard a noise. And then she heard a loud thud. Is Katie telling us what happened that night? Going by what Mike Damon says. Is she telling us? Because, guys, every time I hear that, I get this awful, awful, weird feeling in the pit of my gut. I have said it for a long time that the thud is important in this case. And is she telling us? Is she telling us what happened there? I mean, I'm not going to believe her statement he walked away. But they tell us without meaning to tell us. Right? That's what Mike Damon has said. They tell us without meaning to tell us. No, it's spelled like that. I just put it in chat. That's how his name is spelled. So I'm calling him Damon. The man. The man. He's the man. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Oh my gosh, I can't help it. Oh no. No, not CJ. I'm talking about if you watch our video from last night, his name is Mike. Let me find him on X and I'll show you who I'm talking about. Um oh gosh. Oh. Trying to find him here now. Um There he is. Okay. Can you see it all right? So there he is. And that's how you spell his name. And we have watched a couple of his videos and he breaks down he breaks down their actual statements, right? And what he says is they're telling us what happened. Like when Katie said, we don't want his face to fall to the bottom of a feed. Think about that, right? We don't want his face to fall to the bottom of a feed. And he said, she's telling us what happened there. And of course, she's talking about social media, but he says when people are being dishonest, untruthful, they tell you. Yeah, I was so how do you say that name? I'm not going to go there again. Oh, you want to know who CJ is? Is that what you're saying, Poppy Love? Um, it's Evil, EVILLE, CJ, Media Investigations or something like that. He's been in here. He's been in our channel before. He does a lot of boots on the ground kind of thing. I'm glad you get your daily dose. I get mine too. How do you say his name, guys? Is it Damon? The man. I don't know. All right, let's go on. Oh my goodness.
It's, truthful evidence. It's nevertheless evidence. Okay. It's a fact that she's saying that. So
I don't
if we
believe
take
that.
that on its face at a fact, and then also she's given a fact in terms of timeline that she went to bed around midnight. Well, recall, she says he disappeared sometime between midnight and 6 after she, got off the couch, went to bed. That she just
Okay, but she didn't check on him at midnight. She said she didn't check on him at midnight. So how does she know he was in bed at midnight? I think she knows because she took him out the back door at 3:10 a.m. That's what I think. But I mean, if she didn't check on him, because she said, I'm sure you guys can understand you don't want to go into a teenage boy's room unannounced. So I don't do that. Excuse me, I'm the mom. I may knock a little bit and say, get yourself together. I'm coming in, but I'm the mom. Sorry. I'm checking on you. Or if it's midnight and he's supposed to be sleeping and you don't hear anything, I'm going to open up the door a crack. If he's doing something, I'll close it. Right? But I'm going to check on him if I think, I need to. But she said she didn't. So how do we know? I don't think we know that he was seen between 12 and 6 just because they said it. She's saying because they said it, it's a fact. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
wouldn't have heard him and the dogs wouldn't have barked, and there would have been absolutely no indication for her to hear her son leave midnight to 6. So that is, as far as walking away, we're going through the witness statements, the evidence we have. That's number one. Number two, Chris Proudfoot says the
Sounds
same
good to
thing.
me, Jackie.
Okay, so now we have two witness statements. Now remember, he purportedly was not there. But I do want to call your attention to Smiley's Story World. It's a YouTube channel, and she was able to interview Chris Proudfoot. And during that conversation, and you can look back at it, it's marked at it's the interview of him at timestamp 29:15, and he says we would have heard something. Now, before everybody completely jumps off the page, he could have just sort of been generalizing, because again, he likes to speak for Katie and what happened that night, and he loves to take over the conversation with his narrative. And this was another example of that. He purportedly was not there, and we don't know whether he was there or not. Only law enforcement knows. We do not know that answer. We only know what law enforcement says, because again, our only witnesses in this are Katie Proudfoot and Chris Proudfoot that we know. Law enforcement is going to have a lot more than that. They're going to have digital information, car information. They're going to have.
Hold on. How can Chris be a witness? Huh? I mean, how can he be a witness? He said he wasn't there. He said he wasn't there. He can't be a witness. I mean, you can't have it both ways, right?
Camera information on the roads. They're going to have information from his workplace. They're going to have a lot of information that is unknown to us. So law enforcement holds a lot of the keys, and we know very little. But he does say this, and believe me, if it is found out that anything nefarious happened, and if it is found out that Chris Proudfoot was somehow there, if that
I completely agree with you, Ginger. She said the way she recounts that event is troubling to me. If the last thing I had said to my missing child was knock it off and go to sleep, I would be devastated and be sad to tell anybody about it. Yeah. I mean, especially interviewers or anybody. I mean, isn't that something you could say to you would just keep to yourself? I mean, I might have said, like, I asked him if, if he fell out of bed and he said no. Okay, go back to sleep. I might have said something like that. Right? But yeah, I wouldn't, because I would have to live with the fact that I said this to my kid and it's the last time I saw him. But see, here's my thing. I don't think she said any of this. So why is she saying she did? I don't think she said any of it, guys. She thinks she sounds like a normal mother, 'cause she don't. If I had an autistic child with a chromosome deletion syndrome, knowing that if he bumped his head, he could die, and I heard a thud, I'd be going in there. I wouldn't be saying, I don't care what you're doing in there, but knock it off and go to sleep. No, I wouldn't be saying that. Okay, now you don't think she said it either. Yeah, I don't. I don't believe it at all. I don't. I don't know if she thought that by saying something like that, it made her sound like a normal mom, but it didn't. It made her sound like a mom who didn't care about her autistic child, so it backfired on her. I don't care how old he was. He was 15, but he still had that issue. So if you heard a thud, any mom would be going and checking on him. Just my thoughts.
That ferrets out to be true, and I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying if that ferrets out. This Smiley's world, and I want to make sure to give her credit, Smiley's story world, believe me, they will be using that clip because he says, and I think I wrote it in quotes, we would have heard something, referring to if he would have left through a window. We would have heard something.
Well, how would they have heard something? They're at the total back left end of the house, and Sebastian is totally at the top right end of the house. How would they have heard it? And what about we? I thought you weren't there, Chris.
So this is one of two things. He either had a major slip up, he was there and had a major slip up, or he wasn't there and he merely is kind of saying, generally speaking, you know how you say we and you and things like that? It would have been a general speaking.
Here's my thinking on this, guys. I think he was there, and I think he wasn't supposed to be there because of the CPS issue. I think the CPS order was that he was not supposed to be anywhere around Sebastian. I don't think it said that you can't be anywhere around your home. I think it said that you can't be anywhere around Sebastian. So he's afraid to say that he was there because he'd get in trouble with CPS as well. That was my thinking on that one.
Situation. So one of the two, those are our only options. There's no other option. Screw up, he was there and he admitted
I
it there
agree,
when he said
Melissa.
we,
100%.
or generally speaking, we would have heard something like that. So I think we have to be careful not to jump off the page, but merely to take into account those two possibilities when you take in everything else we know. Okay, so again, KT witness statement, he disappeared between noon and 6. CP says this too, although he's really not a direct individual who was there, but nevertheless, he is a witness, can testify to what Katie told him. He can testify to what she said on the phone. He can testify to things like that. So he certainly, in this, if there is foul play found, he certainly is going to be a witness as to what happened that night from what he heard on the phone. He can testify to that. He can't testify hearsay words, but he could certainly testify to, calling 911 and the order of events, receiving a call, so on. He can totally testify to all of that. So I'm just we're talking about walking away now. And again, what law enforcement does is very simply, when they have sets of facts, they go through process of elimination. What the facts lead to, what they don't lead to, and what you can start to eliminate as a possibility. So that's what we're kind of going through here. LE said, no indication of foul play. Again, going back to Sebastian walked out of that house and has never been seen again. So now we have Chris saying it, Katie saying it, and we have LE saying, listen, no indication of foul play. We've heard that several times from law enforcement. Add on to that, I used to be able to add on to the list of him just walking away that, and sorry about my eye, I actually got hit full on force about 7 feet away with one of the hardest forehand tennis players that plays in our league. I think I've got it covered up with makeup, but I got hit square right here. And my eye will not stop watering. So I apologize about that. But anyway, the bottom line is I can't say what I used to say, which was on the 26th of February, there was information from law enforcement that was his last sighting. I could add that into this to say, see, he could have walked away, because law enforcement saw him on a video or something, even though it was always an oxymoron. We've never seen him since he left, but last seen on the 26th, I think we figured that out now. So I have to take that off the page of proof that he walked away. Now, it's important, I think, it's very important to look at other autistic children who walked away in this general range of age and their circumstances. So I want to quickly discuss 3 cases super quickly. The first one you've heard me talk about many times, Connor Jack Oswald. Connor Jack Oswald disappeared in 2019. He was 16 years old, so only 1 year older than Sebastian Rogers. He disappeared from California, and guess where he was found? In Utah, hundreds of miles away from where he disappeared. He was found almost 3 years later. Almost 3 years later. Homeless, freezing, at a gas station, you know.
What do you guys think? Do you think that's a possibility for Sebastian? That he's found later, homeless, hundreds of miles away from home? And this was a case like the other one. There was no leads. A case like Sebastian's, I should say. She's, making both of them coincide. Kanan, you don't. Yeah. I don't think so either. And I think it's because we already have our minds made up that there's been foul play in this case, don't we? I think we all pretty much think that.
Not in good health. The difference, I think, with Connor Jack Oswald is there were various sightings throughout the time he was gone, as you can imagine. In fact, he was actually arrested in Nevada, although it's unclear to me that there was really any nexus made, even though he gave the name Connor Jack and gave the name Connor Oswald, but they wrote it with a D, not a T. And unfortunately, I don't believe that nexus was ever made until later. But my point is that this individual left, the case went completely cold until he was observed freezing cold at a gas station, and his parents were called. And of course, by this point, he wasn't a minor anymore. He was 19 years old. And he was taken to a hospital, and he didn't want to go back home. In fact, services were called to assist with him. And as far as I know, he was assisted with somehow getting a place and things like this. So we have to consider Connor Jack Oswald's case. I think it's very interesting. Number 2, the case of Marcus Tessier. Marcus Tessier was 13 years old. He disappeared at 4 a.m. He disappeared from Tucson, Arizona. He was found approximately a day later, not very long later. It was over a day, though, or about a day. I'm sorry, about a day. But he was found in Deming, New Mexico. He was found in Deming, New Mexico. And just 200 miles away from Tucson. I looked it up. It might even be a little bit further than 200 miles. Hours away. To this day, they do not know how he got there. He was found in a Walmart. He had some things he wanted to buy, and he didn't have any money, but he went to go buy it, right? He was, again, autistic on the spectrum. And fortunately, he got home and is taken care of there. But again, a case where somebody left, was missing. It was a shorter amount of time because he went to a public place like a Walmart, just like what happened with Connor Jack. He was in a public place, this gas station where he was seen, very visible. And so they were found. The last one I want to talk about is Bradley Close. And I featured all of these on my Twitter in talking with Sebastian, but I haven't really gone into a lot of detail here. And I just wanted to do that because we're discussing what if he walked away. And Bradley Close went missing in Phoenix, again, autistic. He was very high functioning. He had a job, but he left his job and was never seen again. He actually left his cell phone. I believe he left his keys, as I recall. He left personal items at his place of work and just walked away and disappeared. He was not found for 5 months. He ended up being found in the foothill area of Phoenix, and he was deceased. You can imagine, I mean, his family was so upset. And again, these are 3 instances of huge law enforcement response, huge search responses, the community coming together, posters, and flyers, word of mouth. In Connor Jack Oswald, his mom was devastated. Was every day, according to her, every single day, she walked and searched for him. So these cases, I forgot to give you his age. He was 16 years old, so just a year older than Sebastian. So again, in these cases, we have autistic teenagers who literally walked away, never to be seen again, until one was found deceased, one was found in a Walmart, and one was found near a gas station, varying amounts of time. So if you ask me, is it possible? Is it possible that Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers just walked away, never to be seen again after almost a year? I would say it's possible and extremely improbable.
It's possible, but extremely improbable. Possible, but extremely improbable. I agree with her. There haven't been any sightings of him, guys, right? Not like that other kid that she was talking about. And Sebastian had no money. He didn't bring his money, right? He didn't have shoes. That's a big one. That's a big one. What that tells me, somebody carried him out and made a huge mistake by not bringing his shoes along. That was a mistake that they made, in my opinion. They remembered his glasses, allegedly his little flashlight, but they forgot his shoes. They forgot his shoes. So I think we're going to leave it there for tonight, and we'll continue on tomorrow because there's 2 more scenarios that she brings up, right? But I like that she said it's possible he walked away, but it's extremely improbable. And I agree with her. Could there be something that law enforcement missed, right? I mean, guys, we know that they had too many people at that home. Did the dogs get confused? I don't know how that all works. Did they get confused because of all the people? I mean, seriously, I've heard that they're really good though. So I doubt it, but you the thing is, even if he did get out of the house without any kind of a scent, how did he walk anywhere for any length of time without being seen on a camera anywhere? Because this day and age, there's cameras all over the place, right? There's ring cameras, there's security cameras, there's security cameras on buildings, stop signs, stoplights. I mean, it's next to impossible, right? Next to impossible. So I really like, yeah. And the guy that was the head of the search for Sumner County said that they had scent items from the home. I actually heard him say that on an interview. You would have think they would have found something, but they didn't, right? So I think everyone knows that he did not walk out of the house, no matter what Chris or Katie say. He just didn't. He was carried out, in my opinion. And I think one of their biggest mistakes was forgetting the shoes. The next biggest mistake is hauling him to a car where there was a security camera right there. Even though it was dark out, it still caught the flashlights. And who knows what else. Remember, law enforcement has the original hard drive from that flashlight video. They have the original hard drive, guys. The only problem with that is that the time wasn't working. Did somebody use jammers, guys? How can that be proven, right? I don't know. A lot of unanswered questions, and that may be why we don't have an arrest yet in this case. And, they have to have a case that they can prosecute to the full extent of the law. And the mob crew says they have a lot of other video evidence as well. I am sure that law enforcement has way more than what we know about, right? Way more than what we know about. And we just have to keep praying that the case will be built and that somehow, some way, there's a lead and Sebastian is brought home one way or the other. And I'm hoping it's the way we all want, alive and back with his dad, right? Jen looks a little spooky in the freezes. Well, she doesn't look as bad as some that I've seen. I'm gonna show our grannyism tonight because we've been talking about mistakes, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's the people who took Sebastian for getting the shoes. When you repeat a mistake, it's not a mistake anymore. It's a decision, right? Because if you continue doing the same thing, like if you continue to leave the 26th on here and that's a mistake, then that's a decision, right? Then that's a decision. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. But we'll pick up tomorrow with the rest of Jen's thing. It gives us another day to of things to talk about if there's no updates in this case, which there hasn't been, other than a lot of garbage, right? And we just don't do that here. So, you know, if there's not something from Nick or Dog or At Night or the Mop Crew or Jennifer, there's not a whole heck of a lot to talk about, is there? I've seen that Dog has been busy with looking for terrorists. So, I don't know what's going on, guys. But we're not giving up for sure, right? And good night, Cheryl. I hope you have a good evening. I hope everybody does, and everybody who watches on replay. Thank you guys all for being here. I want to thank my lovely mods. You guys are awesome. Everything that you do. So thank you so much, and have a great night, everybody. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at granniescrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.